Welcome to the Abyss Garden. This video is part of a series in which we discover the psychological theories behind each set of mind worlds. Today, we are taking a look at the Four Sides model. My partner will introduce you to the theory itself, guiding you through the ins and outs of its far-reaching postulates, and I will then go on to discuss the high-level concepts that we decided to bring from the Four Sides model into the game. We will give you a few examples of the new mechanics that emerge from it. And finally, we will conclude this episode with a rundown of some new effects that we added and expanded upon from the first set of mind worlds.
What is the Four Sides model? Friedemann Schulz von Thun is a German psychologist born in 1944. He dedicated his career to the study of inter- and intrapersonal communication. These two fields focus on the communication between people and within oneself. It is in his most well-known publications, Miteinander reden, which loosely translates to talking to one another, that he presents the Four Sides model in detail. Whether it be telling someone about your day, raising an eyebrow in response to an unexpected event, or interrupting one statement to give your opinion, all of these actions are filled with information. Information that flows from one person to the next, from the sender to the receiver. The Four Sides model is somewhat of a tool, one that allows us to break down these daily interactions between senders and receivers into four different levels. The first of these levels is the factual one. It contains what the sender wants to inform about. It is made of data, facts, and information statements. The sender's task is to send this information clearly and understandably. The receiver then interprets whether the message fulfills their criteria of truth, relevance, and completeness. The second level provides us with self-revealing information. It contains what the sender reveals about themselves. This level is made of information about the sender. The sender may send consciously intended self-expression or unintended self-disclosure. Every message thus shares information about their personality. The receiver then perceives which information about the sender hides in a message. The third level focuses on the sender's and receiver's relationship. It contains hints on how the sender gets along with the receiver. This level is made of information about their feelings towards each other. The sender expresses what they think and how they feel about the receiver. The receiver may feel accepted, patronized, respected, etc. And finally, the last level is the appeal level. It contains what the sender wants the receiver to do or think. This level should make the receiver do something or leave something undone. The sender attempts to influence the receiver to do or think something. The receiver then processes the request consciously or unconsciously. Together, these four levels provide us with a really helpful way to understand ourselves and others better. It allows us to reflect on past encounters and grasp the hidden information that both parties shared during these interactions. But besides this, Friedemann's theory offers us a unique framework to better understand and tackle the common pitfalls of human communication. It allows us to identify many of the psychological tricks our brains play on us, including projections, a defense mechanism where we unconsciously attribute our own unacceptable thoughts, feelings, or traits to others. But also displacement, our beliefs that the new people we meet might be thinking similarly to the ones we interacted with prior. Preconceptions, our innate feelings that unknown individuals are a certain way, despite us having no prior hints towards this idea. And maybe one of the most important ones, misunderstandings, a wrongful interpretation of one of these four levels described by the theory, or an unbalanced focus on one of them. The Four Sides model and its accompanying literature have turned out to be an impressively efficient tool for psychologists to not only identify the communication issues their patients may be facing, but to also provide plenty of ways to mitigate them. With this theory, Friedemann Schulz von Thun opened the door to an easy-to-access and practical path towards greater interactions between people, whether you're a scholar of the field of psychology or not.
What to gamify? From the Four Sides model, The main points that we decided to gamify into mind worlds were not only the 4 different levels of communication, but also the notion of having a sender and a receiver. Once this initial decision had been made, the next step was to take a look at our legacy. Even though we only made 1 set so far, we already had some important mechanics to carry over to this second set. In order to maintain consistency and coherence, we needed to merge Plutchik's will and the 4 sides model seamlessly. To achieve this, we decided to have each emotion embody one aspect of Friedman-Schulz von Thun's theory. We divided the will into 2 groups, based on their gameplay, the senders and the receivers. We then fitted each level of communication to a pair of opposite emotions. This part is crucial. Defining which group of cards will have access to which kind of effects is arguably the most challenging elements of a new set's creation. What we wanted to achieve here is to ensure that every kind of card retains its identity, while still evolving along with the game. And thus, after some lengthy back and forth, what we ended up with is the following themes. Ecstasy and grief would embody the self-revealing level of communication. Ecstasy as the receiver, gathering information from the other player's intents, and grief as the sender, sharing information about their own intents. Admiration and loathing would represent the relationship level. Admiration would be the receiver, letting the other player define their dynamic, and loathing would be the sender, defining players' interactions. Terror and rage would then handle the appeal level. Terror as the receiver, internalizing what the other player wishes to do, and rage as the sender, pushing their own choices on the opponent. And finally, vigilance and amazement would take care of the factual level. Vigilance would be the receiver, gathering the raw facts hidden in the other player's actions, and amazement would be the sender, stating what is and what isn't. These carefully chosen roles were meant to align with the direction of the gameplay that we want to experiment with. We are definitely still learning as we go, but we are not the first trading card game in existence. Like many people say, we all stand on the shoulders of giants. And this means that we know of the many pitfalls that these games had to overcome. Establishing consistency and identity for our cards is at the forefront of our mind as we continue our steady journey forward. The allure of new mechanics is always exciting, but there's a lot to balance in order to deliver a great result. Effects have to fit thematically, they have to be easy to grasp, to work with previous sets while still feeling different. But they must also bring something new to the table and open the gate to new strategies. This creative process is a fascinating one to go through, and we are really happy to be able to share some pieces of it in these gamification videos. But it's now time to get a closer look at some of these new mechanics that we created for the 4 sides model. From theory to mechanics. We won't go through every effect inspired by Friedman-Schulz von Thun theory, but we will mention the most impactful ones. The first of these is projections. In the same way that people might project thoughts that they have onto others, this new mechanic allows you to make your opponent play your own thoughts, making them act as if they shared your ideas. The keyword project has been given to the ecstasy and grief triad as a great way for them to expand their reach in the mind. The second effect that we'd like to mention is suggestions. This is a uniquely ecstasy mechanic, aligning with their role as a self-revealing receiver. After giving hints as to what you will play next, the keyword suggest forces your opponent to reveal themselves and show their intents, whether it be by stating if they would answer your next card, or with which card they would do it. Our next mechanic focuses on the factual level of the 4 sides model. As a receiver of this level, Vigilance got access to a new keyword named promise. Promises require your opponent to share clear facts about their thoughts. It forces them to show you their next plays before they happen, allowing you to prepare yourself. we found it to be a really fitting effect for the vigilance triad. Choices are another mechanic that was introduced to mind worlds with this set. There are two kinds of keywords that embody it. The first one is opponent choose. Admiration is the only emotion with access to it, allowing them to ask their opponent to choose between multiple good outcomes for the admiration player. As a relationship receiver, this effect provides this emotion with a sneaky way to define what others are looking for. The second keyword we created for the choice mechanic is or. Rage, as the appeal sender, is the emotion that gained access to this effect. It allows them to push their own choices onto others. Another great way to merge the four sides model with the initial identity of our emotions. Displacement is another new mechanic that we crafted for this second set. Your early relationships will influence the way you interact with new people, making you believe that they share the opinions of these past encounters. This keyword, embodied by the admiration and rage triads, allows you to force others to play specific thoughts that they wouldn't have otherwise, making them lose cards or time counters for non-optimal plays. Our next mechanic makes use of a pre-existing keyword named static. These are effects that stay active as long as the card is in the mind. The concept we took from the four sides model and implemented using static is preconceptions. Some beliefs we hold are hardwired in our brain, and if they get triggered, our reactions will always be the same. This mechanic, which can be found in the admiration and vigilance triad, triggers when your opponent does a specific action. It allows you to react instantly to it and gather your rewards. And finally, the last mechanic inspired by the four sides model that we wanted to discuss is misunderstanding. Since we already had tools that lended themselves nicely to this idea, we didn't end up making a specific keyword for this mechanic. But in a nutshell, the amazement triad got access to new ways to confuse the mind, including a neat card, allowing you to reorder the train of thought itself. All these new abilities were directly linked to the four sides model, but it's not the only novelties that we have introduced with this second set, from one set to the next. Given our legacy, the fact that we already made a previous set, we decided to allocate a portion of our new cards to reinforce existing archetypes and open the door to future strategies. Static abilities had been lightly sprinkled in the first set, but here we wanted to enshrine it as a core part of the game. Our way to do that was to create a new rule-bending mechanic that we call Monkey Paw. These static effects offer you great rewards, but at an even greater cost. The best example of these cards might be Self-Expanding Fury, one of the new rage thoughts, which provides you with influence every turn, but at the cost of you not being able to play chill thoughts anymore. Following on with rule-bending mechanics, we decided that it was fitting for some emotions to start being able to mess with some of the game's effects. With the card We Don't Have Time for That, we are introducing new ways to deplete your opponent's resources. And as a counterbalance, we also decided to provide the admiration triad with the opposite ability, allowing it to offer both players more of these scarce resources. The introduction of a second set also made us take a look back at some of the mechanics that didn't make it the first time around. One of these was replace, a keyword that fits really well with the rage triad and allows you to move a thought onto any other one in the mind, effectively kicking this other one out of the game. As we discussed in the last episode, the most pressing mechanic on Mind World's players is the number of turns left before the end of the game. We had given both ecstasy and loathing unique ways to interact with these turns, the ability to respectively add and remove turns. After some playtesting, we decided to keep these unique effects, but we also felt like they were lacking a specific direction. And so, for the four sides model, we went on creating a whole new mechanic around turns, incentivizing ecstasy to head for a very fast gameplay before turn 10, and offering loathing to access their best rewards at the very end of the game, when there are 4 less turn counters left. Speaking of counters, the next mechanic was thought of as a neat way to push on some early abilities. Some cards from the Amazement and Grief Triad allowed you to hide or delay thoughts, putting a specific number of counters on them. Counters that needed to be removed one by one to free the targeted thoughts. And after some brainstorming, we decided to expand on these abilities by allowing Amazement to move counters around, but also to remove them, playing directly into the unexpected nature of this emotion. Furthermore, we also provided Grief with ways to add counters, keeping cards hidden or delayed for much longer, leaning into their will to shut down the game. And finally, as we reflected on the most iconic effects that we created for the first set, we found ourselves yearning for some of them to reappear. But given that these emblematic abilities were more often than not part of intense thoughts, we had to get creative with our approach. What we ended up settling on is to strongly limit their reach. A great example of that is the card Remembering a Tiny Joy, which is only able to use the powerful effect Recall on a chill thought, rather than on any targeted thought. The creation of all these cards still happened quite organically, but as we slowly move towards designing on the next set for Mind Worlds, it becomes evident that we need to build a robust system for our future mechanics. We need to decide on how many new abilities we want to support going forward, on how much of each set should be dedicated to its theory, and on what are the core components that should frequently reappear. A last few words. In the end, designing a trading card game is as much an art form as it is an engineering challenge. Every decision we make going forward will branch out to loads of unexpected results down the line. But I would argue that it is part of what makes this adventure such an exciting endeavor. I hope you enjoyed this gamification episode, and I wish to see you next time when we'll discuss the gamification of our third and yet unknown theory. Feel free to join us on Discord to witness our process and influence our decisions. In the meantime, have a great day.